I'm still working on my intro. Okay, but we'll get there. Okay, here we go. It's not complicated, this fundamental truth. Everything that I've been given, I give it back for you. I don't have much money and I don't have much time, but I have the feeling that everything is gonna be fine. Oh, everything is gonna be alright. I turned on my station and they won't stop playing our song. I wish you'd come and listen while the whole world sings along. I've been searching all my life for a love like this, and now that I found you, I'm never gonna forget that. I wanna give you everlasting love. I could love you forwards and back, love you from below and from above. I wanna give you everlasting love. I could love you for all my days and it still wouldn't be enough for an everlasting love, everlasting love. When my body wears out, as it most certainly will, may all that remains of my existence be the love that I made you feel. I wanna open up the tavern and set all the boozies free, yeah. Let the music fill the earth as they sing along with me. That I wanna give you everlasting love. I wanna love you forwards and backwards, love you from below and from above. And I wanna give you everlasting love. I can love you from beyond the grave and it still wouldn't be enough for an everlasting love, everlasting love. An everlasting love, everlasting love. Everlasting love, an everlasting love.
Ooh.
Jai Baba.
Hey, how about singing Surrender and then we'll let you go?
Just surrender.
All right. Oops. I also need to work out the intro for this song. I'm not sure. Sing for the forest, sing for the sky, sing for all the moments that are passing you by. Sing for all the moments that are passing you by. Sing for the animals. Sing for your friends. Sing for the beginnings and sing for the ends. Sing for the beginnings and sing for the ends. All of our days are endlessly numbered. As the clock runs, time stands still. Tomorrow's never promised to anyone, and the empty stage of life is yours to fill. So sing. Sing and then surrender. Sing and then let go. Sing for your happiness. Sing for your sorrow. Sing for your happiness. Sing for your sorrow. Sing because you can. Sing because it's good. Sing for all the people in the world who wish they could. Sing for all the people in the world who wish they could. All of our days are endlessly numbered. As the clock runs, time stands still. Tomorrow's never promised to anyone, and the empty stage of life is yours to fill. Oh, so sing. Sing for your healing. Sing because it's right. Sing your warmth into the cold dark night. Sing your warmth into the cold dark night. Sing for your homeland. Sing for your soul. Sing for your brokenness. Sing until you're whole. Sing for your brokenness. Sing until you're whole. On all of our days are endlessly numbered. As the clock runs, time stands still. Tomorrow's never promised to anyone, and the empty stage of life is yours to fill. You know the empty stage of life is yours to fill. Oh, so sing.
J Baba.
Wow.
Mm.
Ooh. So touching.
So beautiful.
That's the way to start Effort and Grace.
Yeah. Sing and surrender.
Yeah.
Effort and grace.
Wow. Thank you. That was just
Thanks.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
Grabbed you there before before you got out the door.
Thanks for always encouraging me to sing an extra song.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
so touching. God.
I think it's
So
time for a moment of silence. What do you
let's
think?
have a few moments of silence. Yeah. J Baba. Wow. Whew. Lovely.
I was going to say something. And when I came in, Adrienne was singing. And when I heard her say sing, for all those things, I just started singing Baba Om in the same tune. Like I knew the tune somehow that I'd never heard before. And it was Baba Om as you were singing. And it was so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, God. We can't exactly ask her to do another one, but that'd be just, we can't push our luck here. So anyway, so this last chapter, Darwin kind of gets over a little bit into the esoteric, as we mentioned last week. And there's some of the terms that he introduces, like infinite formless God and God in human form, the first cause, the universal mind, and how these relate. And even if you don't understand, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, we might not know the whole theory of aerodynamics, but we can still enjoy the plane ride. Just hop on. So, but anyway, with the formless infinite God, the way I visualize it and kind of what I gathered from Darwin is there's God with all his infinite knowledge, power, and bliss and consciousness, and he looks down at the earth and it's such a mess. And he says, oh, well, I'm going to go down there. And just like he created our forms, he can create a form for himself, and he comes down and tries to draw us away from illusion into the real, beyond into the divine itself. And I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. So here's the thing that's kind of extraordinary that Bal Natu and Merwan said, that when Baba comes down, he can adopt ignorance. And that ignorance is, I mean, if he didn't kind of veil his infinite knowledge, power, and bliss, we'd be blown away. So he comes down and his ignorance can throw people. But I remember Bal Natu and Merwan saying that his ignorance was really something to behold. When you saw Baba being someone all-knowing, being ignorant before your eyes, they said it wasn't like anybody else's ignorance. It was something magical, his ignorance. And Erich would say, if Baba was all-knowing and you came before him, you would feel naked. You feel too exposed. So Baba has to be ignorant. And there was one woman, there was an old follower of Baba's named Ann Forbes, and she was from Florida. And she, just to give an idea of how we project our ideas of God onto the God-man. She was going to meet Baba in 1952, but then she heard Baba got in an automobile accident. Well, someone's perfect couldn't get in an automobile accident, so she didn't go and see him in 1952. And when she saw him in 1956, she realized what a profound mistake she had made. She regretted that mistake, but I mean, it's a normal thing that we project our ideas of omniscience onto God. And if he doesn't kind of do everything according to our ideas, then there's something suspect about him. So anyway, now the other term is first cause. And I mean, it kind of goes back to, as I recall, ancient Greek, they had the unmoved mover, the person who started this thing who wasn't moved himself, But the first cause, according to Darwin, and I don't think Baba mentions first cause. I mean, I don't know if anybody has seen it in Baba's literature, but Baba, is the first cause, God is the first cause, and creation is the effect. And what we are doing is we're looking for God in the effect rather than turning to the source. And here's a poem of Rumi where he says, sir, we're looking in the shadows for the light. We're looking for, and so here's how Rumi puts it. A bird is soaring high up in the sky, while its shadow races along the ground below. You are chasing the shadow, which is only a fleeting image of the bird. Even if you shoot all your arrows in your quiver, you will not strike your prey. Dear one, do you think you will find the one you are looking for while hunting in the shadows of the world? Beautiful image. A bird is soaring high up in the sky while its shadow races along the ground below. You are chasing the shadow, which is only a fleeting image of the bird. Even if you shoot all the arrows in your quiver, you will not strike your prey. Do you think, dear one, you will find the one you are looking for while hunting in the shadows of this world? So anyway, the other term is universal mind, but I'm not going to bother to get into that. We'll handle that when we get to it. So anyway, let's go ahead.
I wrote it in the chat, page
78. Yeah.
46, I think it was. Yes, other PDF. So
programming in the unseen. We are constantly working with causes and programming at the archetypal level. We create a prototype in the unseen based on a belief or a thought. We create a prototype in the unseen based on a belief or a thought. Then it is manifested, and the result we experience reinforces our original belief or thought and keeps it alive. In psychological terms, our subconscious is open to suggestions and will respond. In archetypal programming, the response is that the universal mind, working through our subconscious, goes ahead and manifests the suggestion as if it were a command. It does so without questioning whether it is accurate or wise or whether or not it can ever be done. The universal mind and our subconscious are not conditioned or bound by precedent or by gross obstacles. Of course, this can work in our favor. The truth is that we are unlimited spirit and are one with God. So if we take our stand on the truth, this will manifest and become our experience. The universal mind is creative, not destructive. It does not have discriminatory faculties. It responds to suggestions automatically. It has no personality, no opinion, and no axe to grind. Yet, as an aspect of God, this universal mind has a sense of the personal and is completely benign, which is why we can feel the personal presence of God or the infinite, and why we can have companionship and compassion with him and find his guidance. Last, I want to read that sentence again. Yet, as an aspect of God, it has a sense of the personal and it completely is benign, which is why we can feel the personal presence of God or the infinite, and why we can have companionship with him, Baba, and feel his guidance.
Do we have anybody who can explain that?
You're on the spot.
Yeah, I think the key to this idea of programming that Darwin is talking about is when he says we can program our minds with the truth, that we are unlimited spirit and are one with God. And then he ends by saying that we can have our companionship with God and feel his guidance.
Meaning if we program that, it will happen. That can be taken. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people go to that impersonal aspect of God and get success in the world, you know, do well in the world, get abundance of wealth, and that's enough. But that same thing can be used for creating a very intimate relationship with Baba or with God. Yeah.
Cindy?
And to add on to that sentence, and can be used in service as well. Like that, what I was thinking, what I've been feeling with this is, I mean, the power that we have is not bound by precedent or gross obstacles. Like, oh, I've never done it before, it can't be done. Where there's that kind of limited thinking that channels our imagination based on previous thought or other people's imaginations, that the universal mind has no bindings with that, or the way God thinks. But it's like when we so limit with that, I like to say, I say this all the time, like money is not a real thing. It's just what people agree has power. It's not a thing. It's squiggles. I call money squiggles. But we have so just accepted that there is a limited font of squiggles, and some people can have them, some people can't. And we lament and we fight why people can't have enough food, why children can starve in the world, but football can be $1 billion industry. We just accept, we all imagine in using the power of the universal mind that somehow it's too difficult to come past. Or at least I'll say I would have done that. And I think I like this sentence. In psychological terms, our subconscious is open to suggestions and will respond. In archetypal programming, the response is that the universal mind, working through our subconscious, goes ahead and manifests the suggestion as if it were a command. It does so whether questioning whether it is accurate or wise, or whether or not it can even be done. I think that first the first two sentences is how we incarnate. We're in the spirit realm, and we decide from an archetypal level, I'm going to be a woman. I'm going to identify as a woman. I'm going to be born in America. I'm going to have these parents. I'm going to have these issues with body or mind or whatever it might be, the perfect compote. And then we still have that same power. We just don't know it. And so if I think that I'm bound by the archetype of the good mother or the good wife or the teacher or whatever role we inhabit, we can play that, like that song that Adrienne was singing, like the stage is ours to fill up. And anyhow, I'm going on and on, but I feel that I feel so strongly we have, like Baba says, that infinite power. If we are him and we are one, then we have that within us. And the universe will respond.
Beautifully explained.
Okay, so two things. One, it's what is really meant by archetypal programming. That's one. Number two is it's really hard for me to accept this thing about the universal mind is creative, not destructive. That's fine. I understand that. It does not have discriminatory faculties. It responds to suggestions automatically. It has no personality, no opinion, and no axe to grind. So what that says to me is totally amoral, and I don't like to think of God as having no morality. It's really hard to accept that for me. I want to think of God as a good God, a loving God, a compassionate God. And if we're talking about universal mind and it's all these whatever, then that means this mind can do whatever it wants. I mean, it could be a Hitler, it could be a few other people, it could be, whatever. So that's one thing.
Wait, let me stop there though, where, he says it's completely benign though. This particular, the universal mind is completely benign though.
Well, how can it be benign and have no personality, no opinion, and no axe to grind?
I think it's possible.
Okay, I'm just saying that this is an issue for my brain. Of course, brains are always issues, aren't they? Anyway, so the other thing is this archetypal programming. Now, I'm very familiar with Joseph Campbell's Hero of 1,000 Faces and archetypal images and poetry and cultures and things like that. But I'm wondering what is meant by archetypal programming. What is that? I mean, I haven't heard Baba talk about programming in an archetypical sense. You have the archetype of the hero, the archetype of, the person on the quest. That I understand. Anyway, so I'll leave it at that and see if anybody has some brilliant ideas.
Okay. That's why I say we may not figure this out, but we're going to get there anyway, even if we don't know what we're doing.
Good one. Douglas.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the thing about this section and this message that Darwin is giving us, this transmission that he's giving us, in a sense, it's so radical to my mind, to myself, and I suppose maybe to us, to think that we can change through suggestion our sense of ourselves, our sense of the journey we're on. But that's really what this means to me, that we have in our control. It has to be worked with and understood and almost played with, really, to create a much vaster experience of life. That's kind of what I'm part of what I'm taking from this. And I don't, Elizabeth, I don't have an answer to the archetypal question either. There are through hypnosis and there was a kind of therapy called neuro-linguistic programming, which actually relied on this, which relied on the sense of the suggestions that you make, your subconscious will respond. And so really be careful and work on the suggestions that you make. So it also exists in our Western world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like tapping into a different paradigm from a limited paradigm to a more expansive, free paradigm.
Yes, huge.
And to take advantage of that in us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see who's next.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing. the part of this that I'm working with in myself is it's frightening how huge it is.
Yeah.
We need to overcome that first.
Yeah, I mean, it is an extraordinary aspect of the spiritual life that we could tap into. I mean, Darwin, he was a big proponent of this particular approach, even though Baba doesn't talk a whole lot about it in this specific way. But Baba definitely says, you know, whatever you want to be, that you become. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Martin.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's a book that came out a long time ago, it's about 18, it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. So it sort of introduced that idea quite a while ago. And then a more recent thing that came out was this book called The Secret. It's 10, 15 years ago. And basically they're saying something, it was pretty much the same thing. Now, just to go backwards a little bit, so the subconscious mind is the part of you that figures out how to do stuff. So when you're learning to ride a bike, you know, you're wobbling around and falling down and you just can't get it. But then after a while, one day you get on the bike and suddenly you can ride it. And that's what the subconscious mind does. It integrates all this stuff in the background and makes it happen. So that's one example of how the subconscious mind does its job, which is doing all the time. So then these guys come out with this, these guys perceive that and then come out with a strategy of how to use the subconscious mind. Now, how this relates to archetypes and the universal mind, that's just confusing to me right now. But so the subconscious mind then, if you want something or you want to do something or you want to become proficient in some way, and if you focus on what you really want, which is what the Secret book was always talking about, what do you really, really want? It's not just, it's something that that comes from within you, that's a real desire, a real thing that you want. And that longing, that direct experience that you have of wanting to do this is what sort of turbocharges the subconscious mind to get to work to help you do what you want to do. And that can take a little bit of time or it can take a long time. But if you're focused on something, it's the same idea. If you're focused on something and you stay focused on it, somehow even circumstances are going to change that will allow you to progress down that path that you're after. Some of it relates to you learning how to do stuff and your subconscious mind helping you that way, but also it can kind of do some magic, make things happen invisibly that lead you to, you know, being here at a certain time, meeting somebody, and that helps you on your path, or you go into a bookstore and you're just attracted to some book and you pick it up and you read it and it reveals stuff to you that helps you. So that I think is sort of a mundane, that's sort of the way it works with us personally.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's the mechanics of it, you know. Beautiful.
Lovely. And Ken.
Hello. A couple things came to mind. Is my sound okay?
Yeah.
First, it reminded me of something in Infinite Intelligence. I don't have it here, but about praying to the different aspects of God, how the prayers are heard by different aspects. So it's kind of using different language, but it seems like a similar concept. And of course, people have mentioned a number of things about the danger, because really, unless you your motives are pure, you can create a hell for yourself by your desires.
Yeah.
So that's why the path of love is much safer than the path of power.
Yeah, excellent. And what was the other thing? You said you had two things.
Well, that was sort of two. I don't know if anyone remembers exactly how it's put in Infinite Intelligence, but the idea of certain types of prayers go to the unconscious aspect or the, this aspect of God. It sounds like the universal mind. Sort of fulfilling desires or wishes.
Yeah, or longings. Yeah.
And Anthony.
Wow, this is a deep topic. I'm going to take a shot at this for whatever it's worth. Wow, what's coming to me with this is two things. One, it's feeling to me like Darwin's trying to say that what we put out there to the universal mind, it's kind of being reflected back to us in what we're experiencing in life. And I mean, I can tell when I used to believe certain things that weren't the most accurate, I would just get things coming into my life to confirm that. Like I would somehow randomly bump into a person like that thought just like that. I would be drawn to this type of book, or somebody would suggest, oh, you should read this. And so these things were just like coming into the life to confirm that, oh, what you think is real. I mean, look at this, you're seeing it everywhere now. And then once I changed my thoughts on that and realized that wasn't accurate, it's almost like all these coincidences having to do with that would not be coming in anymore. And then I started noticing other groups of people, like almost like these little bubbles of like, wow, here's like a group that thinks like this and kind of sees reality through this lens. And here's another that thinks like this. And it could be anything from political ideology to, spiritual beliefs to just social causes. So that was the first thing that was coming to me, is that what we're putting out there is coming back to us in a way that's making us think that we're right and that, everybody thinks like this. The second thing that was coming to me was how important this is on our path to Baba, because there's a whole nother set of limiting beliefs on the path to him, that we think like, oh, the path to Baba is all about this and all about doing these types of things. And then later on, we start realizing like, oh, wow, I wasn't seeing it completely right. It's kind of more about this. So I guess that's the part of it that I'm feeling is the most important, is trying to really not totally feel like I know what the path to him is, because the more I open up, and especially in this Effort&Grace group, it changes. And it's like, wow, like this is really what I need to be focusing on. And I'll realize that I was caught up in some false belief about what the path to Baba was all about. So I don't know, I hope that makes sense. Hopefully it wasn't too much.
Yeah, no, this is, I think we all have versions of what you just talked about, changing views and approaches to Baba.
Martin or Wendy?
Yeah, so just two other things. So some of the stuff that attracts you to people or situations, that's like resonance. So it's like you're focused on something, and that creates some kind of internal vibe or frequency. And then that's resonance, I think, is the principle that kind of leads you to these things that pop out of nowhere or lead you to different incidences and circumstances. Now, internally, with respect to NLP, when you're doing NLP exercises and you want to change something, wanting is fine, but you also have to check it out with respect to the other parts that make you up internally or subconsciously. So you want to be powerful, you want to be a big political leader, but maybe there's other parts of you that really object to that. So it doesn't really work. Some things happen, but it kind of splutters and it goes back and forth. Until you kind of bring other parts of you into harmony, or let the other parts speak and voice their objections, and then integrate it with what you want to do, then what you want to do may not really happen because of the internal conflict with other parts of yourself. So that's kind of like a fail-safe mechanism in a way that doesn't let you just get what you want all the time. You have to work with the parts that make you up in order for that to happen in some sort of harmonious way.
Yeah, beautifully explained. Yeah, and if our goal is some aspect of love, or all the different aspects of love, we have an internal consent to all of that, which really works for us. You know, it's not an ambition. It's like love is not ambitious, you know, and the compassion, empathy, forgiveness, all of those qualities will work. We will resonate deeply with all of those, and we can speed up our whole journey by appealing to that, to the divine qualities in us. Yeah. Okay, Hugh, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I never heard Darwin talk about Jungian things. So I think when Darwin is talking about an archetypal program, I think he's just using archetypal in the standard non-Jungian sense of a typical thing. So, you know, as Jeff says, the typical thing that Baba talks about is love, and that you and I are not we but one, that we are the infinite. And that's the truth here, that he mentions that we are unlimited spirit and are one with God. I think that's the typical thing that Darwin is talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hugh, that he is using archetypal, kind of like these large patterns that we get caught up in, but not the Jungian definition of archetype. Yeah.
Leica.
Well, that just set me up perfectly for what I wanted to say, which is basically what archetypes are an arrangement of sanskaras into patterns that there's, you know, very few patterns that human beings have. We go through them all in different lifetimes, and so I just see the archetype, whether it be Jungian or whatever archetype there is, as being an arrangement of sanskaras. And to me, in this material, and how I understand what Darwin used to love to talk about, was what Baba said about how the truth, you know, there's one truth. And for me, this is the compass and kind of the crux of the reading we just did. The truth is that we are unlimited spirit and are one with God. And to me, that is the goal of my life, is to be true to that. And then it goes on to say, so if we take our stand on the truth, this will manifest and become our experience. And in my life, my heart tells me that this is true. And it's not the mind, in my life anyway, that the mind just can do all kinds of things around that, but it is not experientially knowing that that's true. So the mind is kind of separate and does different dances around that truth. But my heart knows that truth intimately, beyond words, beyond reason. And so if I can remember that truth and to be true to it, so when my mind or life or, you know, be it inner or outer, whatever's happening, shows up that is contrary to the oneness with God, with the loving God. I mean, God has loved me, so that's all there is. Then it becomes my focus to challenge that simply by remembering the truth that I am one with God, especially in times when I totally don't maybe feel one with God. I feel, cast adrift or something, but I can know that's all chatter and noise, and just come back to that feeling within my heart, either through breathing or, just trying to keep a one-pointed focus on that one truth that I am indeed I am one with God. And then universal mind, it's like a doorway opens to universal mind in a way that I want it to, not in a way where it's my limited self giving random suggestions from my desired nature to the universal mind to manifest and mirror back to me. But to just feed I am one with God to universal mind, who then mirrors back to me that truth. Doesn't last long, sometimes longer than others, but that's kind of the process to me that's so pure here, that's in this writing. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Leica.
So I just looked up the definition for my, because I don't feel comfortable talking about these things unless I know what we're talking about. So in Webster's, it says archetype is the original pattern or model from which all other things of the same kind are made. A prototype. A perfect example of a type or group. The third definition is in Jungian psychology, any of several innate ideas or patterns in the psyche expressed in dreams, art, etc., as certain basic symbols or images. But having heard what Leica said, I really like what she said. And I think that's, for me, I think that comes closer to what Baba would mean by archetype. And that was just an absolutely beautiful explanation. I never would have thought of that myself. I mean, but it makes total sense. That idea of taking your stand with the truth and it becoming manifest. And then the idea of opening ourselves up to the universal mind so that that manifestation can take place in whatever way it is intended to take place. Anyway, yeah. Thank you, Leica.
And Baba says that he has a universal mind. So it's we are basically appealing directly to Baba. You can call it the formless God as well, but Baba's, but I'm just going to say briefly what one person did. Amrit's father, Kumar, he had been in prison for about 10 years, and he was basically an atheist. And he was known as a real agitator, a troublemaker. And they put him up on the top of this prison right near the heat with these kind of metal roofs, and it was just killing him. Then they put him down in the dungeon, so to speak, and no one ever got out of there. Once you went there, this is in the time of the British, that was it. So he was down there, and he was, away from his wife and his family and everything, and 10 years on 2 different sentences. And so one day, some of you probably know, he said, he decided, well, what I got to lose? I'm going to just pray to God. And not having prayed since he was a kid, he just said how to address God. He said, Mr. God, if you exist, get me out of this prison, and I will serve you, in compensation, I will serve you if you get me out. But then he said, well, now if I get out tomorrow, that could be coincidence. So I'm going to say, get me out before dawn. In other words, before the warden actually comes into work. The warden would come into work at 10. So he said before dawn. And he put all these conditions, you know, on to make sure that it wasn't just coincidence. And there were a series of things that he bargained with God on this. And sure enough, at early dawn, he heard this kind of jingling of keys, and they opened his prison door or cell door, and he went out. And at the early ungodly hour, the warden was there. He signed his release, and next thing you knew, he was on the road with a train ticket to get back home. Mm. So he made that. And then years later, you know, Baba basically said, you know, I was Mr. God. You know, he used the same phrase. So it's there he appealed to God, and it manifested the impossible. Anyway, let's go on to I am, the next section.
Page 79.
Meher Baba has said that the God-man, the avatar, is more powerful than God the infinite. Being consciously one with the universal mind, he can and does respond to people with all the infallible, invincible, absolutely dependable attributes of the universal mind, but with full personal consciousness of us and the creation. His purpose with us and for us is to make us happy, but also to free us from the illusions and delusions of the creation. However, we limit him. In 1954, during a darshan program, when thousands of people from all classes were passing before Baba to have his darshan, he turned to us Western men and said, "I love them all, big and small, high and low, rich and poor, all. I am whatever anyone takes me to be." When he said this, I felt that he was speaking from the state of the infinite being behind his form as the universal mind, or God, the infinite. There were many other occasions when he said similar things, such as, "To each one, I appear to be what he thinks I am, and I am in you, and the universal mind can give anything to anyone at any time. Just follow these instructions. Love me, do not deceive, do not commit misdeeds, and I will be with you." These statements have tremendous implications. If we even begin to understand, we realize how important our relationship with the Master is. By thinking of Baba as God, the infinite, or universal mind, we are plugging into both the personal and impersonal avenues of power, energy, truth, and reality. This is what the avatar and the perfect masters are, being conscious of us and our sanskaras, dilemmas. They are transformers who are able to transform at our personal level. As conscious universal mind, Baba responds to our every whim. He also responds to what we think and feel about him. This is because he is a reflection of our image of him. If we project a limited view on him, then we are limiting him in how he can work with us. For example, if we think of him as a judge, then our subjective self-created experience will be that of being judged by him. In other words, if we take him to be a judge, he becomes that for us. If we take him to be our master and friend, that is who he is for us. Our relationship with him will be in accordance with whatever we attribute to him and however we relate to him. Whether we program with regard to God, the infinite, or Mayor Baba, it comes out the same. But I feel that there is a definite advantage if we go through Baba. I think it helps us to experience the personal aspect of God more, particularly since this is why Baba took incarnation.
Ooh. Any comments on that? That says a lot.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Cindy.
What I got reading this time about, we're so powerful, because of course we're God too, that if we think Baba is limited, he'll be limited for us. Like, that's how powerful we are. Like, I think that that's amazing. Like, and whatever, and why loving Baba, like loving him, loving God, letting him be, you know, our best friend and everything is so important, because we have that within us, and we get to use that power. And I love what's happening in me right now, the awareness of how that I can grow in not limiting what Baba is to me or the world. That feels fun and imaginative and hopeful, and like Christmas morning, every minute, like a new present to unwrap, and letting Baba be that for me.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's right along with Darwin's view.
Cindy, it reminds me of what I wanted to say, that life is just more fun, you know, and life is heavy enough, you know, with all the outside stuff, that if we can't bring Baba into our inside stuff and enjoy ourselves and love him and each other and our lives and lighten up a little bit, then it's, you know, it makes life way more, I don't know what the word is, oppressive. It feels like life is more oppressive.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, a lot of people think of God as this, you know, disapproving guy up there, you know. And boy, that's no fun at all. You know, you're trying to kind of not just annoy him. What a relationship, that's a narrow relationship people can get into with God. Yeah. The disapproving God. Anyone else?
Stuart.
I think I have this right. I think years ago somebody commented to Padre about his salty language, and he barked back, "Who do you think I learned from?" Another example of another side of Baba.
Yeah, it shatters the religious image we might have of him.
I think that image of God is created through religion often. It has nothing to do with our journey with Baba, but we spent, so many of us, so much of our life in a religious situation where, you know, if God is good versus God is good. And it's really different when you go with that way of looking at things than the way Baba has you look at them. So you kind of have to really switch the whole paradigm, and it's not easy. It really isn't, but it's way better.
Yeah.
First Cause, that's page 80.
Dear Baba, first cause. It is up to us what the Master can and will do for us. Therefore, we would be wise to take charge of our programming and switch our focus from the level of outer conditions to the Master himself, the source of everything. We dote so much on our self-created environment and spend a lot of time reacting to it, not realizing that the world, even the world of thought and feeling, is an effect, not first cause. Meher Baba says that we are the producers of all phenomena. We have projected everything out of us. What Baba is telling us is that we are creating our own world, our emotional world as well as the physical world, and our mental world, and that we can design it and make it any way we would like. In 1954, in India, Baba quoted one of his disciples, Baidul, as saying, "We produce everything, and like fools, we become the slave of what we are the masters of." If we regard the illusory world instead of God or the Master as first cause and base our reactions on his false premise, we have created a second degree of falseness. We get caught up in a continuous chain reaction, where an event, in brackets a cause, results in a reaction, in brackets an effect, which becomes the cause of the next reaction, and so on. As this chain of cause and effect continues, we go further and further into the falseness. We find that we are continually dealing with contingencies all the time. We are constantly postulating that certain conditions cannot come about unless certain other conditions are met.
So I'm not sure if I've got this right or not. So pipe in, anyone who can help me with this. So what I'm trying to do right now is, as I'm going through my daily experiences, I look at, you know, if something is challenging me or giving me pleasure, I ask myself, first of all, am I thinking or am I down here in my heart? And then I ask the question from here, Baba, what is it you're trying? Is this a karmic thing? Is this me creating more karma? Like I try to do a bit of a check-in. I mean, I'm not tabulating everything in my life, but if it's something, for example, you're in a grocery store and for no reason somebody is, you know, giving you something that maybe you don't want to experience. So rather than react to it, to drop down from my head, go down here, and is this something that I need to look at? So I'm open to suggestion on this. I'm not sure that I totally understand it, but I'm willing to listen. Thank you, Jai Baba.
I think first cause sums up for me the recognition that everything that is happening outside and inside is Baba as cause. And yet, I also love this Baidul quote, we produce everything, and like fools, we become the slave of what we are the masters of, that we are in effect continually of what is happening in our lives. But I think this sense that Baba is doing everything is the most what I'm gleaning from this particular idea, first cause. That makes sense?
Yeah. You know, yeah, I mean, Darwin would say that if you take each thing not as coming from other people or from environment or from circumstances, if you take it, everything is coming from Baba through this one, through this situation, or directly from Baba, Darwin said your mental world and your world of emotions will take a dramatic change. What can I say? That by adapting that paradigm, you will change your interior dramatically. I mean, it's hard to do that, but what you're saying, if you do that, take everything as coming from Baba, you change your interior radically, if you can stick with it.
What also occurs to me about this is, particularly in intimate relationships, if you take everything as your own projection that happens in a relationship, that is a vast kind of revolutionary idea, because we love to blame our partners. And you can't do that anymore.
And when I say taking everything as Baba, that doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything. I mean, well, this guy's hit me over the head with a 2x4. Well, it must be Baba. Well, Baba may say, let's get the heck out of here. You know what I mean? So, but to take everything as coming from Baba is revolutionary, and it'll make dramatic change in our whole DNA, you might say.
And Leitka?
Yeah, I just wanted to give Wendy some feedback that's exactly, Darwin and I spoke about this a lot, the first cause, and he had given me a book for my birthday, and that was the quote from Troward, and I always forget the name of it, but who wrote it around the turn of the century, and he had inscribed in it, focus on the first cause, not the circumstances, which I always loved. So that's exactly what you did, was rather than let the mind get mired in the circumstances of what is occurring or appears to be occurring either within us or outside of us. And instead of reacting, that we then turn to Baba and go for a check-in, you said, and that's exactly the way that I look at it too. Like, okay, what's really happening here? I mean, we always have that, we can have that first reaction out of our sanskaras and our emotional mind, limited mind, but what is really happening? And so to go down and to have inquiry and to be curious instead of reactive, to a deeper, it also deepens the companionship with Baba, of course, and the relationship with him. And it enables us to react or to act in a more informed way according to his will. So I find that it's so easy, and all the time it happens to me, to get embroiled in the circumstances and the emotions of other people, of myself, of what's happening in the world, and this is just basically stripping all that away and saying, just focus on the first cause. Not that he's making this happen to punish or to be obscure or whatever, but he, the other thing that I thought was important to remember within this context is what Baba says about free will. And, there's that story that Bauji would tell always about, and I don't remember the details because I'm kind of an essence girl, but it's basically saying, stand on one foot. Somebody, Jeff, you might remember this better.
No.
Stand on one leg. And so however the story goes, stands on one leg. And he goes, that's free will. Now, now remove that leg, or, stand on no legs. And he says, that's universal will.
You can't lift the other leg.
Yeah, lift the other leg. That's universal will. And of course, you're going to fall. You can't. So in other words, God wouldn't be God if he made people love him, So there is this element of free will, and how that works within the limited self. Of course, the end of the line is that we're all God, but there's this whole other thing going on that we're involved in with the drops and limited self and samskaras. So anyway, Wendy, I just wanted to say that to me, that just shines really clearly like a perfect interpretation of this, what you said. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I appreciate everything you said. Thank you.
And Alan?
Yes, so I found two particular lines here to be, I don't know about what the word is, like inspiring, I guess. It was in the previous chapter, or the previous paragraph, when Darwin said, this is because he is a reflection of our image of him. If we project a limited view on him, then we are limiting him in how he can work with us. And then in this chapter, or this paragraph, he's saying what Baba is telling us is that we are creating our own world, our emotional world, as well as the physical world and our mental world, and that we can design it and make it any way we would like. Those are two very, I mean, that's pretty provocative. That's pretty inspiring, and it opens a door to me, at least, of like, there's so much opportunity. There's so many, in any moment, there's a possibility that I could, I don't know what the word is. You could potentially spend every moment with him. Every, I think you said, Jeff, that Erich said something like every in-breath and out-breath could be, right? Something about spending, that could be a moment with Bob. Yeah, so to me, that's really inspiring. And also, we are creating our own world, our emotional world, as well as the physical world and the mental world. And we can design it and make it any way we would like. Well, I don't really see myself doing that all the time, but I think if I reflect that, somebody mentioned about relationships, and like, I think this desire to be with Baba, to see Baba in myself has definitely taken a toll on my ego of like, it's your fault for making me feel this way, or, you know, there's some sort of return now where I'm like, okay, you know, the first cause thing is like, it's like living that out is not so much like, well, I yelled at you because it was Baba's will. Baba wanted me to yell at you and to tell you I didn't need to clean the kitchen. It's not my fault. That's Baba's will. You know, it's not like just kind of throwing it up in the air and in someone's face, but like, I'm just curious about how it is, you know, and I'm just experimenting with it is to really live with that and to, because it's very uncomfortable. It burns. It's very unsettling to oneself to think that you could be out of your little hamster cage and you could be and think and be in a different perspective or viewpoint. You know, I've held on to these ways for many, I don't know, thousands, millions of lifetimes. And I to think that you could break out of that and be free really does take a leap into that abyss, or perhaps just into the moment where it just seems scarier than when you actually take that chance and really fall into his arms. And, you know, yeah. So I just find that very, very inspiring that we are creating our own world. That's just, yeah, it really strikes me. Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful, Alan. Yeah, it's very, yeah, it's provocative, like you say. We can get out of this hamster cage. I mean,
God's programming. Well, that's a good subject. Page 81.
God's programming, but there are no contingencies or limitations with God. So, instead of continuing to struggle with conditions, We need to back up and go straight to the divine beloved as first cause, the omnipotent one who is our friend, our beloved, who wants our freedom for us even more than we do. This means that we focus on the Master or God as first cause, the cause of everything that happens to us. Then we respond to the consequences of his programming as first cause, meaning the effects that result from all the qualities that he is, his omnipotence, his omniscience, and his omnipresence. Doing this changes our own thoughts, our consciousness, our subconscious, and our environment. You have to understand that as first cause, Meher Baba, the God-man, is completely unlimited and undefined, in quotes, in the sense that no one can circumscribe him. Because he is not bound by any contingency, all the seemingly solid barriers are nothing to him. We need to put our full attention on Baba and not bother with circumstances. That's all the lesser things. By living at the level of cause and effect, the level of conditions, we are subject to worries and all kinds of illusions, and we experience doubts and fears. Do not bother about that level. Go to Baba or God as first cause.
I mean, it's pretty thrilling that we don't have to just be stuck with the life we have if there's a freer life that we wish for ourselves in appealing to Baba. You know, I'll just tell something about you know, about 10 or 15 years ago, I was reading the Everything and the Nothing that I had read since the 60s. And I read this passage and I realized how far off I was in my view of things. Baba says, the moment the intensity of your will reaches its the moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then this is the part. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with what you may experience in the future, will be the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And nothing will be able to cause you worry again. Now, I read that and I said, God, I haven't been taking everything as the most loving and spontaneous expression of Baba's will. I mean, there's some of it, but what about the way these people treat me or the way, you know, these circumstances? I definitely was not taking everything that, you know, was coming toward me as the most loving and spontaneous expression of Baba's will. You know, I mean, like I was that far off. I mean, I had to start changing everything, you know, to accept things basically as Baba the first cause, but take everything that happens to me, the good, bad, and ugly, as the most loving and spontaneous expression of Baba's will. I mean, boy, I sobered up. That woke me up. I gotta rearrange stuff. And so that I'm reminded of that.
Could you read that quote again, Jeff?
Yeah, I had it memorized.
Oh, you speak it, please.
The moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all that you suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with what you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And nothing will be able to cause you worry again. I mean, it's incredible you know, I mean, these are the kind of things where you wake up and, oh my God, I'm way off. I've been way off for years. I could have saved myself a lot of time.
Martin or Wendy?
Yeah, a long time ago, I had a friend who talked about it's like a letting go to your who you are and what you are, to yourself or to God within you, and that letting go is it's passive. So if you can be passive and allow this stuff to come through you, it's part of that perspective. And so when I'm asking God for something, I'll do my best to ask it and just let it go, like be open to what happens. And that's about it.
Great attitude.
We have to see through the illusions we have been prey to. This is easily accomplished by rising from the level of conditions to first cause and realizing that all these conditions are simply machinations of the mind. Is that correct? Remaining at the level of first cause, we come to realize that these illusions are only creations of the imagination. And while abiding at the level of first cause, we may experience clarity of consciousness, peace of mind, and even bliss. So we have to learn to rest in the Master or God as first cause, rest in that point of view. Resting in first cause is the most practical thing we can do. Call on Baba himself instead of depending on little contingencies. He is the solution to all our problems. Really consider him as that. Resting in first cause requires full faith, and faith supersedes the intellect. Faith, the size of a mustard seed, can produce the miraculous. That really is true. Because all the circumstances of our lives are imaginary. They are subject to change quickly. We discover that nothing is crystallized. Everything can change instantly, despite the surrounding circumstances. So, situations that seem to be set in concrete can change instantaneously.
This is really the greatest day of our lives. I mean, if just a fraction of this that my psyche can take in is true, let alone all of it being true, which I do believe. The only reason I wouldn't be jumping up and down for joy right now would be like, oh, can I? Really? No, like I'll be silly. Like this imagination, like I believe that our imagination gets capped really young and then we don't want to be silly or ashamed. But this is like crazy great people. Like energetic champagne everywhere around. The happy days are here again. And we know Baba and we can usher in the new age that what's coming. There's this quote by this man, Michael Bernard Beckwith, that says, pain pushes until the vision pulls. And I love that. This is vision pulling. Like this is the vision for us, for our own lives and for the radiant example of the world. And when Baba says he wants us to be Baba centers personified, radiating his eternal message of love divine, like we really can do that. I'm doing it, are doing it, and more and more and more. I did you guys see that thing on YouTube? It was like an infomercial for Maribod, like the way you would say, come visit Arizona. It was like, come visit Maribod. It was so great. And it ended with, come to Maribod and you will experience peace, serenity, and sacred happiness. And that's what I believe I get to radiate and we get to radiate. Peace, like create peace in our environment, serenity of the soul, that equipoise, and sacred happiness, that if we're happy, we are actually going to pave the way for everyone else, love being contagious and all of that. So this is like the greatest day ever. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate what was just said. That definitely, I felt the champagne in my heart for sure. and I really like that Darwin is saying here that where was it? That this is resting in first cause is the most practical thing we can do. Now, for somebody that some days I might be able to take this in better than other days, resting in the master, resting in first cause, resting my whole life and everything that I ever thought was mine in him. Now, some moments, like I said, the fear or what he calls the, this illusion that we're creating of our imagination. The imagination is so alluring and so incredibly potent and seductive, fragrant, and it feels so real. And so I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know. I just would, for other people, because I know it's different for everybody, but for me, resting, he's saying it's the most practical thing we can do, but in fact, even the phrase saying resting in first cause is the most practical thing. It's like, usually practicality comes with, well, A, B equals C. But this is still pretty, what do you call it? What's the word? Metaphysical, or this is, the language is still pretty, it's not very practical. It takes you out of your intellect and into the heart. And when you say something like rest in first cause, it's the most practical thing you could do.
It's A.
Yeah. So I'm sure we all have our own ways of doing it, but I'm just curious what does that mean to some people, or what does that mean to you? What does that mean to rest in the master, to rest in that first cause? And how does one really do that?
We'll keep that on the table because Diane or Terry may have something different to say, but let's keep that on.
You remember?
I think I remember. Diane was busy doing something on the computer.
I was doing the GoFundMe.
And I lost a little bit of power behind that. But I think I think I'm on the same page as Cindy these days. And I know that there are people in this group that have sorrow beyond sorrow, that have lost children and houses and all kinds of stuff. And it's incredibly sad, but there's something to be said about seeing those things going to Baba for whatever his reason is. We don't even need to understand, but he gives us the understanding. He tells us that it's really okay, and that he will take care of things. But that trust, it's so hard for us to figure it out because we're so controlling as human beings. And just to really let it go, just let it go and trust that the outcome is whatever it's supposed to be, and that you'll be up to dealing with it no matter what, is really the most important thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
What she said.
Yeah. And Elizabeth.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking something similar to what Alan was thinking. Really looking at, I was looking more carefully at that sentence. By living at the level of cause and effect, which is the level of conditions, we are subject to worries and all kinds of illusions, and we experience doubt and fears. Do not bother about that level. Go to Baba or God as first cause. So, and those are both capitalized. So, cause and effect, that's how we normally live. And they also use the word abiding in. That word is used over and over again in God Speaks. Phases of God, abiding in God, and the various states of God. And or resting in. I mean, I would have to go back and look at it, but so what that says to me is you're being very natural and resting and trusting and kind of open, and that is first cause. And there's no effect because it's just isness or abidingness. It's different. It's not, I do this and that happens. It's like being. Like, I don't even know how to describe what I'm talking about. But anyway,
yeah.
It's like all this is, I guess because we've been reading God Speaks, I just keep thinking of chapter 8 and the lahar and the whim and the dream and, you know, what God really is and how we are, and how it is our nature to eventually become God. I mean, the consciousness is to become God. And the whole point of the avatar is having once gone through that process of evolving and then becoming conscious of that whole, all the forms and all the consciousness levels and evolution, that this all-knowing God becomes all-pervading and all-knowing at the same time. And we, that is our inheritance, and we are to claim it. And though we don't understand it, if we trust enough, we allow it. And in an instant, our consciousness can change. It doesn't mean it will change. It just means that it can. And you never know when it's going to happen. It's surprising and exciting. And things may happen to you that you don't understand. Like all of a sudden, tears may run down your face. What is that about? You may not even know, but something's happening. A new insight or multiple insights. Anyway, so I think that is where one is when one is resting or abiding in first cause. And you really have to quiet down and listen to the small, still voice within. And being a place of receptivity. And I think that's probably why the silence is so important. And Baba talks about it so much. You know, things that are real are given and received in silence. So simple and so profound. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Good. Yeah, Jai Baba.
I thought it's as if I was thinking I'm working in a bed and breakfast, and Bob is the owner, and I know it always works out that I know. So he is the master, and that is certain. And he always does say it always turns out okay. So a customer comes in, something goes wrong, I try and fix that. It goes okay, then something else happens. Oh, the meal was good, and then you went cooking, and you made the bed, and that was wait a minute, it rained, and we weren't able to get the horses out, you know, all this stuff. But I don't care because I know. And then Baba says, "Listen, we're gonna move the bed and breakfast over to like Italy. We're going to Italy." Okay, let's go, because it always works out okay. So it's like sort of holding on to Baba's diamond, and you know, mommy walks around the mall and. You're okay because you just trust in that something has happened that with Baba or with your mom, but with Baba, you just feel all of a sudden, no, you don't feel all of a sudden, like it hits, well, it does. It hits you and you just trust him. So something may be happening, like in the B&B, all of a sudden it's raining through the ceiling. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Because you got to do something. But in the back of your mind, it's okay. Yeah. That's what I got to say. Thank you.
Good. Great analogy. Yeah. I got something from Darwin on that, but yeah.
Yeah, in the last several months, one thing that's come
kind of hit home with me is nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. In Baba, that's the way it is. Everything happens for me, whether I like it or not, or if it's a challenge or if it's easy, no matter what it is, it happens for me. That's the way he works. He loves us, and that's just kind of, maybe that's what first cause is, but you know, I just have to hold his hand. It has to be. I love the parts where it's like, yeah, but he's personal. He came to be, you know, our best friend and our companion. So anyway, nothing happens to me. It happens for me. Anyway, Jay.
Beautiful. Well said. Lovely. I like that. Yeah. That's the beautiful attitude.
Beautiful. And Martin?
Yeah, that was beautiful. There's, you know, there's that exercise that they used to see in movies and stuff where people would fall off a stage and the audience would catch them. So I like to play with ideas sometimes. So I'll imagine something like that, or at a swimming pool, you just falling backwards and you just feel that feeling of just letting go and letting it happen. And at night when I'm focusing on Baba and I'm trying to let go and just experience him or something related to him, that same feeling of just letting go of everything. And then things can begin to happen. You feel this or that. And then depending on how much you're letting go, you can scare yourself because at some point you may feel like you're going to disappear forever, but that's okay. But it's I like doing just different exercises like that because it helps to kind of get you in the mood or get you in that state where something can happen.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, one thing, I don't know if this addresses a little bit what Alan was saying, but besides kind of resting in first cause and not being involved in the effect that this is going to have on something, but staying kind of within, Darwin would say you can get into a flow with Baba, not the flow of worldly life with the cause and effect. You get into a different flow. He used to call it divine order, where you kind of get on, you know, almost like a surfer that kind of hits just the proper crest of the wave, and the wave just carries you. And rather than being in the waves and struggling and everything. So one of the things of resting in first cause eventually, and I think he may get into it in the coming chapters, is you kind of you find a moment to get into the flow, and the flow unfolds, then your day unfolds, and you're not having to make all these real heavy decisions. You're just like kind of Ray was saying that, you know, the bed and breakfast place kind of dictates what to do next, and you just kind of go with that, and you don't have any higher ambition. You know, you're not going anywhere. You're staying in the present and just flowing with the present. Anyway, I think he's going to come up with talking about that when he talks about this inner current that is within each of us. But we'll be getting to that. So, what time is it, Angela?
It's time for a moment of silence. If that's good for you.
Well, any last minute things, and then the two things. Bill has something to some music and something to share, and also anybody that wants to stay on. Stu is going to lead us in that heart-centered Baba meditation. Anybody's welcome to join that, and it's very deep and rich experience. So let's have a few moments of silence and go to first cause if you can. Jai Baba. You know, those silences to me, it's like, I feel it's like Baba's just right over there about 15 feet away giving darshan to all of us. You know, it's amazing. I mean, it really feels like he's really giving us all darshan, even though we're just here on these computers, you know, little rectangles on a computer, but at an inner level, something beautiful is going on. I don't know how he does it, but it really feels that way. So, Bill, let's see. This is from Gene Foster.
Yeah, I just want to say I remembered something that Darwin said. He said when you were talking about being in the flow and catching that wave, he said, when you're really in the flow, you can work through lifetimes. I don't know what that means consciously, but somehow you're just zooming, you know, when all the doors are open and there's no obstacles and you're just really flowing through. He said lifetimes can be worked through that way. You ever hear him say that, Jeff?
Well, he said a lot of things like that, that there's more that's miraculous.
Yeah, he said go with it, then go with it. Take advantage of that when things are open, when all the doors are open. Well, okay, this is Gene Foster, as most of you probably know, met Baba in 1952 through Darwin and Gene, and she would write poems and send them to him. And eventually he and Gene, I think in the 70s, published a book called Awakening Grace, which I hope will be reprinted because her poetry is beautiful. And in the book, there's a couple of poems that have in parentheses song underneath. I think she wrote tunes. I have no idea where they were, but this is one of them called I Call to Thee. And I think it's her poetic way, musical way of putting Baba's Sahaj Dhyan, dressing your soul with Baba 4 times a day to music in a very sweet poetic way. I call to thee. I call to thee in the morning, in the dawn light when I pray, to walk with me on the stony road, with the task of every day. I call to thee. I call to thee. I call to thee at the noontide to help me play my part in a world that is illusion, and hold me close to thy heart. I call to thee. I call to thee. I call to thee in the evening, when the toil of my hands is done, to walk in my heart's garden, in the peace that I have won. I call to thee. I call to thee. I call to thee at the midnight, when the mind may not disprove, to give my soul communion from the cup of living love. I call to thee. I call to thee. To thee. I call to thee. Jai Baba.
Ah, thank you. Sahaj Dian. Wendy and Martin, you have a hand up.
Yes. I just have a question, I think from last week, I think it was, and you were talking about caring for your parents. You talked about how important that was. Could you just give a quick recall of that for me?
Well, this was Dan Ladinsky and Marwan Jesawala and Erich were taking a walk down the approach road to Merzad in the morning. And Marwan Jesawala quoted Upazi Maharaj as saying the line I'll give you. And Erich, heard that and said, yes, that is true. And this is what Upazi Maharaj said. It is not the good fortune of everyone to be able to serve the avatar or a perfect master directly. But God has made a concession to everyone that in serving your dying parents is tantamount to serving the avatar or perfect master directly.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
That's the line, yeah.
Thank you.
And any of those, I mean, when I've ever quoted that to people that have spent years taking care of their dying parents, they sometimes just break into tears.
Yeah. I took care of my grandparents. They all lived with us.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, it was like, oh my God. I mean, I totally lost most of my childhood.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
Yeah, it's and it's like serving Baba himself, because it is not that easy to serve Baba. It's that difficult. Yeah, that difficult.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Thanks. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Any other things before we do heart-centered meditation? And I guess Stu is good. Stu is away now. We can really now we're free. We can do anything we want. But that it's amazing how that particular chapter is a great challenge, and we can do a lot more. We can be more proactive. Darwin was very proactive about our inner life, so that we aren't victims of our own laziness, our own just kind of buying into the way things are. We can change our whole life by being more proactive about what we do internally. And, yeah.
It's interesting, Jeff, Douglas here. It's interesting that how actually difficult that is, that to turn away from our painful habitual patterns turns out to be constant work, constant effort, if you will. Yeah. There's something, it's like the smell of our own armpits, so to speak. There's something we really value in.
Yeah, it's hard to leave the known for the unknown. I mean, even people that have alcoholic, a spouse might be alcoholic. It's just hard to think that you're going to leave that, because you're familiar with the known. Is as perilous as it might be, you still know it,
right?
And the unknown, venturing over onto the unknown is hard. I mean, Baba gave Muhammad, the opportunity to go from the third plane to the fifth plane. And he was reluctant to do it. I mean, this is the avatar himself that's making that offer. But it's going from the known to the unknown, even though the unknown is much infinitely better than where he was. There's something about us that just has a difficult time, you know, changing locations, moving internally, you know, into a different paradigm. Yeah. Yeah. So any other anything else to mention? Yeah, you got something on your chin there, Diane. Oh, good, you got it. We can see.
I know. We're doing Academy Award little side dishes.
Yeah.
So you caught me in mid artichoke dip.
Yeah. Well, good. So we'll just, Stu, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, Jai Baba. And if everybody could mute, that would be nice. So just close your eyes and start to breathe in to your belly. And just let yourself relax even more where you're sitting or laying. And we'll take this little journey. And as you continue to breathe into your belly, now bring your awareness to your heart and your heart center. And notice what you might see or feel there. And know that this is the home in you and all of us of Baba's infinite love, ever flowing, inexhaustible, and always giving. That's the love of the endless first cause. And let's just stay in that awareness for a moment or two with attention in your heart. And as you keep breathing into your belly, I'd like you to pick someone who you would like to share focusing Meher Baba's infinite love with. And let your heart guide you. This could be a person or a group. Just see who appears for you. And this can be tremendously powerful in the event of conflict. If you know somebody's really struggling with something, maybe going through a lot of challenge, and it can be a wonderful thing just to share this love with someone you already feel love for and would like to share this focus even more. And now see a good, clear image of whoever this is in your mind and your heart, and feel it. And notice whatever you might see and feel as you picture them. And picture their heart and their heart space, the heart center. And now picture Mayor Baba's infinite love. Just generously flowing fully into their heart and their heart center and filling every little bit. And I see this delicious, warm, golden, liquid light of love. And this endless, infinite love is giving and healing, soothing, uplifting, enlightening, and forgiving. There's no end to the qualities of this love, and there's no end to the flow. And this love has infinite goodness in it. And see and feel this incredible love filling every little bit of their heart center and now overflowing and flowing through their heart as it continues to just move without end in its generosity. And now see and feel this love fill their entire being. And we never know what magic and miracles this love might bring, but it does. And keep breathing in as you continue to see and feel this endless, infinite love flowing into and filling every bit of the being and their whole heart center of whoever you're picturing. Let's just take one more moment with this. And now let's give thanks to Baba for being able to focus with his infinite love on whoever you've chosen. And all the bounty and magic of this love. And know that you can return here again and again to focus in this love. And let's bid farewell for now to whoever you've chosen. And now gently bring your awareness back to your own heart and heart center. And as you breathe in, just take note of whatever you might feel and see. And now start to picture Meher Baba's infinite love, this giving love flowing into your own heart and heart center. Just flowing without end. And this love is giving, healing, soothing, uplifting, inspiring, and forgiving. It's all there from God's generosity. And drink this love into your heart, your whole heart, every little bit, in your whole heart center. And now see and feel the love overflowing from your heart. And now flowing through your heart without end. And now filling every little bit of your whole being. And carrying all its divine qualities. And just breathe in as you drink in the flow of this love. Now let's take one more moment. Now let's give thanks to Baba for being able to focus with his infinite divine love in our hearts and heart centers and our whole being. And know that we can return here again and again, 24 hours a day. And now let's bring this love with us and in our hearts as we gently start to bring our awareness back to wherever we're sitting or laying. And take a few moments to come back. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And as we gently come back, if anybody would like to share anything, we'd love to hear you.
I just typed it in the chat, but I thought that was the living experience of my cup overfloweth. Like having so much love in me that there's no choice but to just let it flow like rivers in all directions.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Happy for you.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you, Baba.
Yeah. Ah.
I went to all my grandparents and my parents because I tried to go somewhere else, but I got pulled back to that, and I just trusted that that was where I was supposed to be. And it was just such a beautiful space to be. Yes, I did not have a normal childhood by any means, but what is normal? And the love that I experienced with all my grandparents and my parents was phenomenal. So it felt like a thank you. There was like a completion of whatever bond, which will always be there, but it was just flowing with gratitude. I don't know that I can verbalize it. It was so experiential. But I didn't mind giving up the outside world. I didn't mind staying home at times from school to take care of them. Not that I was this goody-goody by any means. I just loved them. And they loved me. And when they were well, they spoiled me by making all their fancy little things that grandparents do for you. And my parents as well. And that was just a beautiful moment of being totally embraced in love. Yeah. Thank you, Stuart. That was just beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, that's wonderful, Wendy.
Yeah. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh. Alan M.
Yeah, so well, when I was sitting with Baba, what I felt very keenly were these very intricate and fine cable lines, almost like internet cable lines. And you know how skinny an internet cable line can be, how thin it is, and it carries all that information of the whole world that you can access through that one little cable, and that one little string can be connected to so many different people. And I was instantly taken to someone who I particularly have had a very hard past with. That was part of a lot of trauma in my life. And at first there was like all this love that I was experiencing, and the wire was sort of dissolving on certain ends. I could sense, and I could feel that almost like physically, you know, that something in my own body was changing from the energetic level and then also to the physical level. But there was a point where I couldn't really give or dissolve, or there wasn't the moment to dissolve any more of that, and a big what do you call it? A big piece of information and experience and sensation kind of came up and was so strong that the current was more than my bandwidth can handle at that moment. And it's going to take some time to process or to work with that. But then it went on to some other people, and all these cable lines were very, it just was good to see that's there. And it's going to take some work to really sit with that and acknowledge those things that are coming up and help them to dissolve with Baba, in Baba. And also the spaciousness of the sensations of trauma or fear or whatever, and the real experience that that's not who I am, and the ways, some certain ways that I live my life or hold myself or present myself or think of myself have all been based on these foundations that are currently rotting. And the rot must be taken out so that a new foundation can be built to hold more, so I can serve Baba better. Anyways, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Did you say spaciousness, Alan? Was that your word?
Yeah, it was spaciousness, to recognize that I don't have to live in that. Like, for example, I was experiencing the sensations, and it's like I felt like my skin was on fire,
Wow.
And for a moment, I could be like, I could get terrified, or I was feeling terror. And then there was a slight spaciousness that I couldn't tell you where I was or who I think I am, but there was the feelings of terror or you know, oh, my body wants to react by getting up and running out the door or fighting or whatever it is. But then there was Baba's hand kind of there, and just like, do you see how this has been running your life for so long, and it doesn't have to anymore. Like, this is not who you are. It doesn't have to keep you trapped or stuck. And it's a cable line of connection that you have with this particular, the sanskaras that you share with this particular person are not necessarily finished. And you can't necessarily just drop them in a bucket in a well and hope that they go away. You have to work with this. And so that was the challenge. It was like, it's not necessarily overflowing bliss, but it's work, you know, it's like to work at it. And it's part of the work to do with him. Yeah.
And it sounds like you had an expansion to be able to experience that, right? Yeah. Yeah, wonderful, thank you. And Alan Ray, I just want to acknowledge what you put in the chat, and thank you too, and glad you're here.
I just want to say thank you, Stuart, for a couple of the things you said today. Maybe you always say, but I heard them for the first time. And one of them was first cause. And that was very helpful for me to put apply all that we had spoken about, or so much of what we'd spoken about on our group. And then you said the generosity of Baba's love. And the word generosity of Baba's love. It's potent for me. So appreciate both of those things. And, you know, I along the lines a little bit of what Alan M was saying, that, you know, there's still these sanskaric things that we, I love the way you described it, Alan, you know, about the little fiber optics that are going into our particular programming. But that I was thinking, like in connection of what we talked about today also, that there are certain things that ways that for me, I hold myself. And then I was thinking about how races hold themselves and that kind of thing. And how those are opportunities, whether it's holding ourselves as inferior, superior, or deserving of punishment, or deserving to give punishment, or whatever those might be, those are all opportunities to find first cause and find a deeper truth, like it was in one of the sections that was today. Find and hold the deeper truth of we're all one, that deeper truth, or whatever deeper truth is for us. And I you know, it'll be an experiment to see how that how those truths then affect our fiber optic wiring. You know, I mean, not like because there's an odd thing for me that we're in control and we're out of control. I mean, we have the in control in the sense that, to me, it seems like we have the opportunity to shift, like what Alan was saying, shift some of the ways we see ourselves or see others. But at the same time, it's coming from first cause, which is, you know, so I mean, what I'm saying, I'm kind of hemming and hawing because it's not solid. But I will say, is Paula still here?
She was here a moment ago.
But I think
she just left.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Janet. That's great. Excellent. Elizabeth?
I liked it, but she said everything is for me.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we're just talking about, everything is for me. And that was also helpful for me in the person that I was giving the.
And if we can see the fiber optics as carrying infinite love, then wonderful.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
So earlier when we were having the discussion and Jeff was trying to remember the quote and he mentioned it was in everything, and I think I was flipping through and I eventually found it, but not until after Meher Prasad did. But while I was looking, you know, I was just looking at titles saying, where would it be? And I glanced at this one, The World is a Prison. And I'm bringing it up because, again, of what Alan said, that sometimes he feels like he's in a world as if he's a hamster, you know, and there are these bars and all of that. And then he contrasted that with the sense of spaciousness and the cables linking him to other people. And of course, Baba talks about the inner links. But I would like to read this, The World is a Prison, if I may, because I think it's directly applicable to that sense of imprisonment. The world is a prison in which the soul experiences being behind the bars of its gross, subtle mental body. The soul, eternally free, lone, sovereign, and supreme Lord. Illusion's hold is so strong that the soul experiences itself as serf rather than soul, with a capital S. Illusion stages the Lord's imprisonment so perfectly and establishes his serfdom so convincingly that even at the moment when the perfect master bestows his grace on the soul, it experiences itself as breaking out through the bars of a prison which never existed. The soul's apparent imprisonment becomes so suffocatingly unbearable that it, by the master's grace, literally tears itself free. And the freeing of exultation is as powerful as was the feeling of suffocation. The experience of both imprisonment and release is of illusion, but the experience of the final freedom is of reality. The emancipated soul then experiences continuously and eternally its own infinite freedom. The world exists only as long as the soul experiences bondage. When the soul realizes itself as reality, the world vanishes, for it never was. And the soul experiences itself as being infinite and eternal. That's number 60 on page 99 of the Everything and the Nothing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I find even the thought that I could be in this moment free of everything. I mean, is a very powerful thought. You know what I mean? In other words, I got the job and I got to do this and this and that. And at any moment I could just be free of everything. That, I mean, there's an intuitive knowing, and that kind of like you break out of your chains for a time, and so that you know that you're really that and not this, you know, you're not stuck in a little shack. You know what I mean? The whole countryside is you. I find helpful to, and that was kind of the way Darwin thinks, you know, think of yourself as free. And there are ways of kind of projecting ourselves, even this meditation. I mean, I feel tremendously free and expansive, you know, so that your mind can't come and say, but you're really a small, puny little paltry guy. You know, it can't be fooled, you know, even if you can't stay there, but just knowing that it's there is, it's almost like knowing that your father is a billionaire and you might be in a ditch and stuck penniless and everything, but all you have to do is give him a call and, you know, he sends the money to you. I mean, you get that ditch is not as oppressive, you know, as it would be if you didn't have, if your father wasn't a billionaire, if he had disowned you, you know. So we've got that. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Is it okay if I speak?
Yeah, Wendy.
So something that I feel today kind of became very clear, not just I could feel it shift, that everything that has happened in my life, like everybody else's, has been with divine purpose.
Yeah.
If you can just get out of your own way, and that, I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier, was that exchange of that's the way it was meant to be. Yeah. I gave you this, and everything is, yeah, there's no punishments, there's no yippee, you know, they're just there for the journey, every experience, to be open to it and not be afraid of it or overindulge in it, but just to be present in it. And sometimes it takes, till you get older, like I am now, that you can look back down your timeline and go, wow, what a gift.
Mm.
What a gift. Such a gift.
You know, one time, it might have been my higher self, or it might have been Baba, but the line came to me. I mean, in utter seriousness, would you want to change anything that has happened to you in this life?
Mm.
I mean, it was like a serious thing. And I thought about it. I said, no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually felt all that has happened. I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't done some of that bad stuff, some of that, you know, I wouldn't have the empathy or compassion, all that. I mean, but I was put on a line. I mean, almost like it was like Bob was saying, I can change anything that happens in your life. I mean, I said, no, I just felt, I mean, I didn't even have a knowing. I mean, I didn't have the empirical evidence to, you know, to know what I would have been if some of that had been changed. But I kind of felt enough. No, don't change a thing. So somehow that's kind of like a backdoor acceptance of life.
Yeah.
I mean, indirect acceptance, because he gave me the opportunity, and I said, no, don't change a thing. And yeah.
It's a pretty amazing awareness.
Yeah.
Alan M.
Jeff, what you were saying was basically on the line of what came up, which was for me, which was sometimes I have the thought, or I even had the thought when all those experiences or feelings were coming up today with when I was talking about the cables, but I had the thought or experience of like, why does this have to happen? Or there's this questioning of like, why couldn't it be different? Or why did I have to go through that? And then instantly, I was like, I could see Baba. It was I could see him making a gesture to me. And I knew, and instantly what came to mind was the letter that he wrote, or the end line of the letter that he wrote to the women Mandali in February of 1934. And he said, you are all being prepared for your different parts in this great divine drama that has to be enacted, and in which I am to play a leading part. Are you not glad that you have to play your parts with me? And so when he said that, I was like, oh man, I just to have that, having that reminder of like playing this whole thing out with him, and I think somebody brought that up earlier, how unbelievably blessed or fortunate we are to know him, even know his name, and to have that experience of his love in this life. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Would you want to change anything in your life if you could change it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No. No, definitely.
As rough as it is,
yeah,
there's something in us that says, no, don't change a thing, Baba.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. No.
I've said it before that years ago I was sitting in the Samadhi alone, back when you could sit there for quite a while. And all of a sudden, internally, Baba said to me, I love you just as you are. And that was such a relief. And he said, it's not that there's not more work to do, there is, but I love you just as you are. And in that was also included this awareness that everything was as it was meant to be.
Yeah. Oh. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I know I'm always saying thank you, but I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. I just love all of you, and I'm grateful that you allowed this Canadian goose to fly in and be with you all. It's
wait.
a blessing.
Oh, you mean you're from Canada? Oh my God.
Yeah, one of those.
How did they get in here?
Canadians. How did you get in?
Oh my God. I thought we had better surveillance.
I went under the radar, Jeff, under the radar.
Well, we're glad you're here, Wendy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it so much, all of you. It's just a blessing to connect with the Baba family all over the place. Yes. Yeah. So I wish you all well, be well. I have to depart now. Thank you.
I have to go. I have to go to work too. But thank you, Stu, and all of you. We're all helping each other.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great family.
Yeah, it's like we all benefit.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Good night.
Jai Baba.
Take care.